answer questions. And actually, I'll go over to the Buddha Hall, introduce the Buddha Hall, and show everyone how to bow. So you'll be bowing a lot this week. And we found, it took me probably 10 years at CTTB before I learned how to bow. I actually took one of the monks aside, could you please teach me how to bow? And he actually showed me, because no one actually explains things to you here oftentimes, and you have to figure it out, and sometimes it's not easy.
So for you, it will be just 10 minutes, not instead of 10 years.
Instead of 10 years, you can do it in the first time you're here. And so, so maybe I'll first introduce myself. I'm Jing Chuan, 远近的近，传统的传. And let's see, I really got interested in Buddhism when I was in high school, in about 1999. And in 2000, I won't go into a lot of details, but I actually wanted to become a monk very early on, which was very strange because my family wasn't really that Buddhist. We had a little altar in the home, but that was about it. And I was kind of pretty normal Bay Area kid, play basketball, play video games, the normal stuff. I won't go into more detail. And all of a sudden I had this inspiration that I wanted to become a monk. And my mom actually brought me to 10,000 Buddhas for a bowing session, just for a day and a night, because she was actually really scared I'd join a cult. And so she learned from a friend about CTTB, and so she brought me up here to kind of see the place. And I had almost no background in Buddhism, and I've never bowed in my life. So I came to see, I had almost no Chinese, I'm ABC, American-born Chinese. And so I came up here. I remember I lived with my mom in the back in, I think, Dragon Tree. And I remember I was very excited because it was the first time being in a monastery. And so I remember like every hour I'd wake up. So it'd be like 12 a.m. I'd wake up, 1 a.m. I'd wake up, 2 a.m. I didn't want to miss morning ceremony, 3 a.m. Okay, 3:30, come on, we have to go. So we go to morning chanting, 4 a.m. And as people know at CTTB, the schedule is really packed. And starting from about 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., all you do is bow, right? 万佛宝懺, the 10,000 Buddhas repentance. You just bow. And I remember, since I couldn't read the book was there, and some man who was, somehow his legs were not working, so he just sat there, and he'd bow very sincerely. And he'd point to the page where we're at, because he's like, I don't know where we are. So he'd point over here, over here, over here, and I try to follow where we are in the ceremony, and also bow along with everybody else. And it was an interesting experience to come for the bowing repentance, but I really understood nothing. I remember driving home with my mom at the end, and I was thinking to myself in my heart, can I become a monk? All they do is bow. Do they do anything else? I thought, well, maybe I can be a monk. I don't know. And so that was my first experience here at CTTB. And over the years, I joined DRBY. I don't know if people have heard of it, Dharma Realm Buddhist Youth. And we had a retreat up here for about a weekend with Reverend Heng Shi. And honestly, that was really when I kind of became very inspired by Master Hua's Dharma and CTTB, because Reverend Heng Shi could explain things in English in a way that I could understand, and I had friends around me that I could relate with. Because before, I was a very strange kind of teenager. As I became more interested in spirituality and Buddhism, I felt that in the Bay Area and Silicon Valley, there was a lot of emphasis on material success, right? Kind of people are really competing, trying to get ahead. And so people were very successful where I grew up, but what I found was actually people were pretty miserable. So they were very successful, but quite miserable. Families often didn't communicate very well. Parents and children, there's a big generation gap. I think it's probably worse now with the digital devices. Just kids playing their games, parents doing their thing. And I thought to myself, wow, so if I work really hard and become very successful, this is my future. So I thought, this is not what I want to do. I want to find something more meaningful. And when I went around asking my friends and my parents' friends about their lives and what really they felt was meaningful, often the answer I got was, are you depressed? And I said, no, I'm not. Don't you think these are important questions? Like, why are we doing what we're doing? And what happens to us after we die? what's life really about? And they said, no, just don't think about that too much. Just do what you're supposed to do now, and then you get a job, and then you get married, and just don't worry about it. And I thought to myself, well, there has to be something more. And so when I came to that retreat, I thought, wow, there is something more. And over the years, I came and stayed here as a resident in 2005, and then became a monk 2011 as a novice. 2013 took full ordination as a bhikshu. And Jingwei and myself both been here at CTTB for quite a while, but we also spent a lot of time at Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. I know some people say they watch some of the things online. So Jingwei and myself,
we're actually real people.
We're actually real people, not just on the street. And how you say? And we're also at a new monastery called Rudra Vihara, but I'll let maybe Jingwei explain some of that.
Okay.
So just a little bit about myself, just to give you some context.
So it's my turn.
Yeah, so Jingwei
Jinwei, my name is Jinwei.
Jingwei.
I'm still pretty bad with the tones, Chinese tones.
So Wei either way.
I grew up and was born in Poland. This is my home country, Europe. And no altar in the home.
No altar.
Or it was a cross, actually. Every home when you go in Poland, you see the cross or Virgin Mary. Poland is a very Catholic country. If you're born in Poland, the joke is the 4% chance you are not be Catholic. So I was in the 96% camp. My grandparents are very devoted Catholics, and so the spirituality was a very part of my childhood, my kind of atmosphere when I grew up. So Buddhism was definitely, it's like Buddhism, people don't know, maybe they think this is Shaolin monks doing some martial arts, and we sometimes saw the documentary movie about people who climb on mountains, go to Nepal, and you see sometimes Tibetan temples with colorful flags. This is kind of image of Buddhism at the time. It's a little bit more right now. But was not that much you can find about Buddhism. So my introduction, actually, where I found the Buddhism was in the high school as well. I was very fan of the Beatles and music. And some of you know and track their career. They have a fascination about India and the East spirituality. So I was thinking and seeing them in India with all these colorful flowers and everything. I was, wow, this is pretty cool. I want to try out what is this about. I remember I borrowed 2 books in high school. One was from the Zen master and another Zen Korean master. It was the kind of first intro to Buddhism, and somehow really hooked me about meditation and that, it's another way to be, it's another way to be free. So they really inspired me. And long story, say shortly, I worked with a woman. She actually was a novice nun here in the city of 10,000 Buddhas. She met Master Shenhua in 1990. He came to Europe, included Poland, and she was so inspired that she wanted to follow him. Came here, but returned after 2 years, and I met her in the office space, and I remember first time I talked about Buddhism, she told me how important bowing is. And I remember being with her in the office space, she showed me how to bow. And it's like, wow, I never see something like that. And she did this so gracefully, so lightly and at ease, that really, it was kind of clear for me, I need to learn how to be like that. How I can be very relaxed and how to be humble, because I was pretty arrogant at the time. So it was first introduction. And through different, I met Reverend Heng Shure and monks and nuns who came to Poland, in fact, with delegation. But the big turn for myself was to visiting city of 10,000 Buddhas, joining the chant session and Amitabha session. And from this day, I have kind of an idea, maybe monasticism is something for me. I didn't know why I have in this my mind, but it was something in my heart resonate. And I was volunteering in the cancer hospital in Warsaw when I lived at the time. And seeing people who are sick. And as you know, nobody on their busy schedule kind of plan to, 2000, for instance, 25, I will go to hospital for cancer treatment, right? It's not on to-do list. It's always surprise, like, wow, why me? What happened to me? So I was facing those people's problems and difficulties when they went through. And it a little bit pushed me. Why I'm waiting for? For why am I waiting for? I know that the hospital bed is waiting for me and I'm not ready. So I came here, same like you, arrived, full of enthusiasm. Wow, it'd be wonderful. My honeymoon lasts 7 days. It was, at the time, was actually a winter. It was very cold. I was hungry. And I feel very sad, lonely. I didn't speak any languages at the time. Any languages means Chinese, English, and Hokkien and others. And it's like, oh my God. So I so miss all my friends, my family. And slowly start learning about myself. I learned that all my life I run away from myself, who I truly are. So in this Buddha farm, the farm, I kind of start recognizing who I am and how I can connect to myself. So I was ordained in 2015 as a novice monk, and 2017 became fully ordained monk. And as Jinchu Master says, two of us are engaged in many different, we call fields. We often come in here. We are in Berkeley Buddhist Monastery, but also we are establishing a forest monastery and Santa Cruz Mountains area in the Redwoods Forest. And our intention is how to bring this wisdom teaching and connect with the modern lives, with people, with our friends. We notice that a lot of people, Jinchuanshers and Bay Area, I guess in Malaysia too, have suffered a lot of an anxiety, of emotional problems. You know, the world changing so fast, I don't know how I can fit in it. So we try to describe this Dharma to be a medicine, how we can connect to ourselves, meet ourselves, have a compassion to ourselves, the people around, and how we can heal for all our traumas and problems.
Maybe to add for that one of the things over the years I kind of discovered is CTTB is really a treasure trove. It's like the dharmas that you find here are deeply transformative. And one of the things I've felt over the years is sometimes they're very hidden and they're uneasy to discover because maybe it's not explained in a way that makes sense.
Michael, can you bring a few chairs from the...
Yeah, there are more chairs inside there.
Inside the room.
And 需要中文的翻译的中文的翻译的机器在后面，如果需要中文 maybe is that Billy? Billy? Can you recruit you to help out with the translation devices if the people need it? Translation devices, if you can help distribute. Just for a few minutes, so Michael can translate. So I'll translate for myself then, Michael, if you can help. So I was just saying that really here there's a lot of treasures, and the current generation, or myself growing up, I realized that just because of some of the mindsets that I had, is oftentimes you don't learn it, you don't pick it up. So for instance, coming to 60,000 Buddhas was really the first time I learned about filiality. This is something I think we really take for granted in Chinese culture or Asian culture. But in a certain sense, in America, that's not emphasized. And I often see that there's a kind of a breaking in the family, especially for ABC children, American-born Chinese, because we grew up wanting to be very independent and Western and do our own thing. And our parents expect certain kind of Chinese values around. Sometimes they translate 孝顺 as actually obedience, which is the exact opposite. It's not even a virtue in American culture. Obeying your parents seems like you brainwash your children, so they don't like it at all. And what I observed going to Taiwan and also in Malaysia is that these values are still very much intact. However, Western or kind of consumerism and this kind of culture is actually coming in. And my sense is the generations are changing quite rapidly. And the Dharma, in my sense, is actually the medicine which will actually carry on these very deep human values generation to generation, allowing kind of our humanity to survive. So I won't go into more about that, but that's something that we feel is really important, which we are trying to explore, is how do we nurture those in our own hearts, and how do we share that with kind of young people in these current times, so we don't forget our roots, basically. A lot of children are lost. Why? Because we forget our roots. We don't know where we come from. We don't know our ancestors. And it's sad, because we go out looking for our friends, we go looking out for video games, we go for some kind of, whatever in the world, but we forget actually, if we want to know where we belong, you have to look from where you came from, right? So, regardless, what we thought would be nice just to start out is to just go around and get people's names, and if you could just very briefly say your intention for being here. What we thought nice is always to hear everybody and just get the chance to at least, we might not be able to remember your name, but at least we get to hear your name and try to remember it. And we found this is also a very important part, being in a Dharma session, is actually having Dharma friends. And you're going to be the community that will be supporting each other for this whole session. And the care that you have for one another, the care that you receive in the community, is what lets you get through the difficulties on day 3, when your back hurts, your knees are going out, and you're thinking to myself, I don't want to get out of bed today. You have your friends go, yeah, no problem, you can do it. We'll go with you, So I can start. I already said I'm Jingchuan. Oh, maybe also say how many times have you been at CTTB? So just so we know if you're a newcomer. Okay, so I been here, I already told you when I showed up, but if I were to kind of go back and forth, probably like 100 plus times to CTTB. And my intention for being here at this time is actually really to welcome everyone. I really feel it's important that people who come to CTTB feel welcome. And so we really wanted to make an effort to make sure everyone who comes here, you have a really heartfelt feeling that you really belong here and people really care about you here. Not in terms of just your physical well-being, but your spiritual well-being. And so that's, I would say, my intention. I don't know if you want to go next. You want to
Sure.
hear?
So my name is Jinwei, as I mentioned. How many times? Many, many times. We're not that far. Berkeley is 2 hours from here.
Yeah.
And another hour and a half is the forest monastery that we mentioned. The intention, partly like Jinchuanshi, we work together, the welcoming everyone that you can find, this is a true home, but also the welcome myself as well, because we, from external home, we coming to eternal home. And for me, also why my intention is to back to roots. I started, I mentioned, with bowing as well, the practice. So I want to kind of back where I came from, because I so grateful for this particular practice of healing. The bowing really heals, relax, and allows me to let go things what I don't like about myself. I can face it, I can welcome, I can let go. So this is my intention for being in the session. So please. So someone have to...
so maybe on this side? Would
on
you
this
be
side,
willing
okay.
to start?
Again?
Yeah. Name?
Okay, my name is Sue.
Sue?
If I don't remember me.
Yeah.